Well, there is a very robust and rapidly growing Indian diaspora, so people of Indian ancestry, which is actually at this point nearing, if not already past 900,000. And so that gives you a pretty strong base. But more importantly, there's a certain enthusiasm for a leader of the prominence of Narendra Modi visiting Australia. You will be familiar with the fact that the Quad Leader Summit was canceled, but he went ahead with this meeting. Put that in the context of the similar, wasn't quite a rock star, more like a cricket star welcome that our Prime Minister received in India just in March when I had the opportunity to be there. It is indicative of the dramatic improvement in the relationship between Australia and India.
Yeah. You know, his welcome seems to be very strong, but this is despite this sometimes divisive nationalistic policies that he has fostered in India.
Yeah, look, India is a very vibrant democracy, and as such, there are opponents of Prime Minister Modi's who criticize him, claim that he's undermining democracy, that his policies have been divisive, that they have been playing on religious division in that society. But I don't know that that necessarily plays into foreign visits. So I don't think that you would see those people who are seeing him as the second coming of Bruce Springsteen and the boss are there thinking about his domestic policies in India. They're primarily focused upon their national pride, their homeland, and the growing relationship between India and Australia.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. India is fast becoming one of the biggest economies in the world. But sometimes it's been difficult to really further those business collaborations. A lot of that is bureaucracy and sort of getting through Indian red tape. How is that progressing?
I think Australia is full of businesses and individuals who went to India 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago and are stuck in this mentality with this kind of old thing that India is a country that perfected the British bureaucracy where you have corruption, you can't get anything done. Of course, there are difficulties, but the transformation of that nation has been truly stunning. Just this year, they became the world's most populous nation. I've had the opportunity to have 4 trips in the last year. Initially, I expected a country set back by the horrors of the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly the Delta variant, and that's not what I've seen. It's a young, hungry country that really seems to be eagerly reaching for its place in the world. As, again, the world's largest democracy and at this point now the world's largest population.
Yeah. We saw Narendra Modi stop off for that Pacific visit as well. What sort of role do you see India taking in the region?
So India has long been pursuing a looked east policy, which means a more active role in Southeast Asia and in the South Pacific. There are a lot of Indian diaspora in the Pacific Islands just because of the legacy of British colonialism. And so there is some connection there as well. But it's also part of their growing into a role as a regional and global power. So the fact that U.S. President Joe Biden had to not only cancel his trip to Australia, but had to cancel his visits to the South Pacific means it's probably a pretty welcome development to see another regional leader, another member of the Quad, like Prime Minister Modi there in the islands, emphasizing that there is choice. And that's really what so much of the Quad agenda is about, is making sure that countries in our region and globally understand that they have choice.
Yeah, really interesting. And as you say, quite a significant difference the diaspora is having on Australia too. So it signifies a very different shift, doesn't it, in this relationship?
It does, and it's one that I anticipate is going to grow exponentially over the coming years. Already, in my homeland of the United States, only 1 in 7 citizens were born overseas. In Australia, that number is 1 in 3, and there's actually over 50% of our population that have at least one parent born overseas. And if you look at, we always make fun of cricket, curry, and Commonwealth, but those actually matter. There's things that kind of bond Indians, Australians, and their countrymen back in India together in a way that I think is going to open the doors in a very robust manner over the next decade.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how that moves forward. Good to have you on. Thank you so much, Gordon.
My pleasure. Thank you.